Welcome back to another edition of Force Friday, where we talk about Star Wars theories, characters, concepts, comparisons, analyzations, collectibles, and more. And today we're obviously going to talk about the recent reveals from their press release for their shareholders, right? We got a ton of new shows, a new movie, some fluff, etc., some animated stuff, a little bit of everything. A melting pot, if you will. Basically, this is an attempt to please shareholders, especially in a world plagued by the Bud Ice virus. Information like this is becoming more important to those folks who have large amounts of money invested in large corporations to try to get their money back. Look, I don't want to get too sidelined. I could get on a whole soapbox here as to what this is really all about, but tune into Nerd Rage Radio for that kind of stuff. First and foremost, I think it's important that we should note that we initially got release dates of Star Wars products being for 2022, 2024, and 2026, all intended to be live action films. It seems as though that's not happening, any of it. But we did get some other things, so let's talk about those. We're getting Rogue Squadron, the next Star Wars theatrical release, directed by Wonder Woman's Patty Jenkins, releasing December 2023. I love the Wonder Woman film. I think Patty Jenkins did a great job, and I have no reason to doubt that she won't do it here. According to the official press release, the film will introduce a new generation of starfighter pilots as they earn their wings and risk their lives in boundary-pushing high-speed thrill ride and move the saga into the future era of the galaxy. Jenkins has stated she wants the film to be the greatest fighter pilot movie ever made, talking at length about how her own father was a pilot in the U.S. Air Force and died in service. The film is an original story, but will contain elements from the classic Rogue Squadron video games, books, and comic book series. I'm not exactly sure when this is supposed to take place. I'm guessing it's post Return of the Jedi. I think there is some wiggle room there to kind of connect it to what we see with X-Wing pilots in The Mandalorian to start filling out and answering questions that we have in regard to the events that take place between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. I do think this is an odd choice for a feature film. This sounds like something that would work better as a TV show, whereas some of the stuff that they're releasing as TV shows sounds like it would work better as a feature film. But hey, I have no stock in Disney, so they weren't even talking to me, to be honest. What else did we get? We got Mr. Watiti's Star Wars. The New Zealand director is still set to direct an upcoming Star Wars project. Watiti is known for blending serious and emotional issues with bizarre humor, best seen in films like Hunt for the Wilder People and Jojo Rabbit. He's also known for making something that should be cool and interesting, in my opinion, something that's silly and stupid. Hate to be the one to break it to you, but that's how I feel about Thor Ragnarok. That's not to say that I don't like Watiti's work. I loved what he did with The Mandalorian, and Jojo Rabbit was an interesting watch as well, but Thor Ragnarok really stung. So I'm always approaching his work with a bit of a cringe and a wince. The first official logo was shown, and the logo does nothing to ease my concerns because it looks potentially goofy and stupid. And some people really get their rocks off on that kind of stuff. Not I. So I'm hoping that he can strike some sort of balance as he did with his work on The Mandalorian and Jojo Rabbit, and we get it leaning a bit more towards that type of vibe than what he did with Thor Ragnarok. All that is known about the plot is that it takes place in an entirely new era, rumored to be thousands of years before the main saga. A piece of concept art showing a mysterious triangular monolith was shown, and Kathy Kennedy said his approach to Star Wars will be fresh, unexpected, and unique. His enormous talent and sense of humor will ensure the audiences are in for an unforgettable ride, and I'll tell you, that does nothing to ease my concerns with his fingers on this franchise. No disrespect intended, but I still got Thor Ragnarok damaged feelings. Watiti is currently gearing up to begin filming Thor Love and Thunder for Marvel Studios, meaning it's unlikely the film will release anytime before 2025. Now on to a show that most people I think are pretty excited about. ObiWan Kenobi, the long in production series directed by the Mandalorian Deborah Chow, is finally gearing up to begin filming in the UK this March. Hayden Christensen is confirmed to be reprising his role as Darth Vader. Whether we will see him as Anakin is unknown. Although flashbacks to the Clone Wars era are heavily rumored. It has seemingly been confirmed Vader and Kenobi will meet in the series, with Kennedy calling it the rematch of the century, which I'm not sure how I feel about. I gotta go back and watch episode 4 and listen closely to the dialogue between the two of them and make sure that it doesn't contradict the vibe. But this statement was later backed up by a member of the Lucasfilm story group. The rematch seemingly confirms a long-standing fan rumor that the two had another meeting after Revenge of the Sith, but before A New Hope. In Return of the Jedi, when Luke tells Vader of the good in him that he feels, Vader replies, "Obi-Wan wants as thought as you do. Considering Kenobi seemed to think Anakin was too far gone in Revenge of the Sith, this implies some other encounter. A piece of concept art was shown featuring Vader seated on some sort of throne communicating with a hologram. Plot-wise, we know the series begins on Tatooine and leaves from there, which is something McGregor confirmed. Concept art of Obi-Wan on a watery planet was also seen. While not confirmed, rumors persist that Mr. Morrison will be portraying Commander Cody in the series, who now leads a small group of remaining clone troopers and hunts relentlessly for Kenobi on behalf of Vader. This series will be a one-off event and rumored to have 4 to 6 episodes. Mandalorian spin-offs. Set within the same time frame as The Mandalorian, both of these series will be overseen to some degree by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. Ahsoka, as played by Rosario Dawson, will receive a limited series written by Filoni and produced by Jon Favreau. Also confirmed was Rangers of the New Republic. Virtually nothing is known about this series. Both shows will intersect with The Mandalorian for what Kennedy called a climactic story event. Lando Calrissian will return for a one-off limited series to be produced by Justin Simeon. No casting has been confirmed, but it is generally assumed that Donald Glover will reprise his role as a younger Calrissian, as has been rumored for some time. A popular rumor has suggested that the series will feature both Glover and Billy D. Williams in some way, perhaps as a narrator. That's entirely unconfirmed, but sounds cool to me. However, in the same breath, I must also say I'd be much more interested in a solo series that continued the story after that movie. I think we all know that that movie was not intended to be a standalone event and was supposed to have content that followed it, but because of its poor box office performance, which I've already talked about in previous videos as to why I think that was, we never really got the story. And some would argue that that's the story that we kind of actually wanted. So while I'm excited to get something with Lando and the idea of Billy D. Williams narrating it does sound awesome, I'm less interested in it than I would be had a solo series been announced to continue that story. Andor. Diego Luna will return to play the amoral rebel spy in Andor, a 12-episode limited series set prior to the events of Rogue One, when the rebellion was far smaller and more fractured. The series is being overseen by Bourne Films' Tony Gilroy, who oversaw the reshoots and rewrites for Rogue One. Despite his earlier statements, it seems like the actor who played K2SO will not return. That or his appearance is being hidden in some sort of reveal, which I hope is the case, because Cassian without K2SO is like Han without Chewie. Like, you need both. Other roles have been casted for Cassian's younger sister, Mon Mothma, etc. Concept art showed a hooded Cassian on a rainy industrial world, a group of rebels making attack plans, hiding from TIE fighters, the remains of a Clone Wars era Venator being destroyed, and Cassian crashing an A-Wing. While I love Cassian, I think that he's one of the more interesting characters that we've seen in Star Wars in recent years. The possibility that K2SO will not be part of it is really disheartening to me. I sincerely hope that they understand how important the two of them are together, how much they play upon one another. But here's hoping. Next is The Acolyte, a mysterious thriller that will take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era, is how they sell it. The series is being created by Leslie Headland, creator of the series Russian Doll, which has been subject to a lot of usual noise online, mostly because Headland had previously been outspoken about her personal politics. In a recent podcast interview, Headland talked in depth about her involvement with the franchise. She said, "I was already a big Star Wars fan. Growing up, I was a huge fan, but with the advent of YouTube, that's when I started to really get more into Star Wars again. Because I was in my early 20s when the prequels came out. I went to see them, but I didn't get immersed in them as with the original trilogy when I was a kid, because I was reading Timothy Zahn books and getting more into it. But I realized there was this whole other world going on that I didn't realize. And through YouTube, I got introduced to Clone Wars and Dave Filoni and started to consume the comics and video games. The fandom was my way back in. I got back in around the time of the Disney acquisition, and I knew we'd start to get more Star Wars. And I don't know too much about other statements that she has made, but I do know that I give all creators a fair shake despite what they feel about the world around them outside of what they create. If I didn't, it would be very difficult for me to have any interest in Top Gun or go back and watch Lethal Weapon or listen to a Kanye record. So I try to keep those things separate in my world. That being said, this is taking place in that High Republic era, which is tying in with the Marvel push as well as a lot of books. So I'll be interested to see see where this goes. I'm surprised, honestly, that this isn't the movie. I wish it were, because I desperately want to get away from the original trilogy. The Bad Batch. This series will follow the clones of Task Force 99 after the events of Revenge of the Sith. The trailer shows them returning to Kamino, encountering slavers on what could be Onderon, and getting into some scraps with their regular bros. This series has been described as having them take mercenary missions, apparently going AWOL from the Empire, and the trailer seems to confirm this. It's worth noting that for the most part, after Order 66, all the clones' unique colors and armor customizations are gone, as if all their identity is being stripped and oppressed. The silver armored clone squad seen in the trailer are unknown. Kessel Run Transmissions, who notably leaked the series over a month before its announcement and accurately described its art style and other details, have said this is Commander Cody, who is very loyal to the Empire. I'm really interested in what direction they go with Cody. Also seen is Fennec, the lethal bounty hunter seen in The Mandalorian, and the show is rumored to feature appearances from Rex, Ahsoka, Commander Wolf, and Bo-Katan. The Clone Wars is probably one of the most satisfying things I've experienced in Star Wars in a very long time, so I'm anxious to see where they take this spinoff. And then the last two things we get, one of which was called Visions. It'll be a 10-episode anthology anime with each episode being brought to life by a different studio. I think there's a lot of potential here of telling short, little, intimate stories that could boost the scenes around them, kind of like ships in water. When the tide rises, they all rise, that kind of a thing, but time will tell. And lastly, A Droid Story, a collaboration between Lucasfilm Animation and ILM. This series apparently features R2-D2 and C-3PO on a secret mission with a brand new droid character. Exactly how the animated and visual effects world meld is unknown. It is rumored the series will be somewhat interactive, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Looking at all of it, what do we have? A ton of shows in one movie. This might be because of the Bud Ice. This might be because of the success of The Mandalorian. It might be because of a mixture of both. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. Large majority of it centers around the original trilogy because they are obviously terrified at the prospect of moving beyond it. So if I were to be honest about this, the things I would be most excited about would be The Acolyte. However, I really do wish that that was the film. If I were to pick something else, it would be Andor, in spite of how I feel about getting away from the original trilogy, but that's only based on the relationship with him and K2SO. If that doesn't exist, neither does my interest. I'm sure The Bad Batch will be great. Everything else I'm kind of up in the air on. It is interesting to me to think about this all business-wise and how the state of the world in relation to the Bud Ice and the economic impacts that it's having is shaping the entertainment industry. It's shaping streaming platforms. It's shaping how business is being made and done. And that's what's most interesting to me about all of these reveals, which says a little bit about what's going on, and it says a little bit about what they're making. Obviously, I'll be keeping track of it all and providing regular updates here as all this stuff evolves. But until then, hope you guys are staying safe. Hope you guys are staying sane. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.